Hey everybody, Congressman Mark Green. Welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday. And this week I'm going to talk about my trip last week to visit with the International Atomic Energy Association in Austria, Poland, to visit Poland, Romania, and Moldova, looking at the crossing sites and visiting with the troops. This is some highlights of the trip. Of course, there are thousands, millions of refugees. And what's interesting about Poland and Romania specifically, and Moldova, in all three of those locations where the Ukrainians are pouring across the border, the Poles and the Romanians are putting them in their homes. There's no refugee camps. It's pretty awesome care of the Ukrainians for those guys. Of course, our humanitarian assistance is getting there, and the NGO cooperation, both with the military forces and with those host countries, has been fantastic. Now, you have to take into consideration the unbelievable, heartbreaking stories of hearing of these women and children, mostly their homes being bombed, and those stories were horrific. We've talked about that in the news a little bit too. I also got to visit the 82nd Airborne Division, which I actually was an infantry rifle company commander in. I got to meet the commander of the actual company that I commanded, which was pretty cool. And of course, from our district in 7th District of Tennessee, the 101st Airborne Division, their 1st Brigade is there doing some amazing things, their brigade headquarters. America, you can be proud of your men and women in uniform. Of course, what we saw, a united NATO, which was fantastic. If Putin's done anything, he's united the EU, he's united NATO, and in this issue, for the most part, he's united Congress. We did discover that the sanctions are inadequate. We met with women, members of the Ukrainian parliament who came into Poland to meet with us, and they talked about how the sanctions, the way the president has done those, has actually encouraged Putin and not discouraged him. Of course, we've had some delays in the legal aid. We've got to fix that. And of course, we saw some amazingly resilient Ukrainians. Now, I want to talk about the president's failures, but I also want to talk about our whole of government failures. From the president's standpoint, the delays in the legal aid, that was DOD and White House. The stingers, we approved them in November. They got there a week before the conflict started. That's unacceptable, and it has to be addressed. And there's still some delays in getting stuff over there. The U.S. energy sector, he destroyed the U.S. energy sector, and our ability to come to Europe's aid to wean them off of that dependence on Russia, well, we just don't have the bandwidth, and we should. A stair step on the sanctions I already mentioned. Some of the things that the government as a whole failed, and this is a failure that's been going on for some time. Our military-industrial complex has been reduced, and now we need stingers, now we need javelins, and we can't keep up with the flow. So we have to fix that. And then permanent basing of American soldiers in those eastern flank NATO countries, we need to fix that. Those are the things where we've made mistakes. Both the president and the whole of government needed actions. They need more lethal aid. We've got a full stop on the sanctions. I mean, let's crush Russia's economy. Let's get on with it. We need to turn on U.S. energy and come to the world's aid. I mean, why do we have to rely on totalitarian dictators for energy? And our energy industry is way cleaner. Like I said, we've got to invest in that military-industrial complex more, permanently basing U.S. forces in those eastern flank of NATO. We have alliances with those guys. They're ready to do it. So that is just a good idea to further contain Russia. And one of the things that I learned when we were talking to the IAEA is, how do we compel Russia to do the right thing with these nuclear reactors? They've taken over Chernobyl and another nuclear power facility. We need to change the laws of land warfare to compel countries in conflicts to treat nuclear facilities a certain way. So these are just some lessons learned from this trip. That's Whiteboard Wednesday. Have a great day.